Betrayal cuts deeper when it comes from the people you raised. I will tell you why later. But let's back up a bit, because you need to understand what my house meant before you understand what they did to it. My name is Michael Hayes. I'm 68 years old, and for 39 of those years I lived in a 4-bedroom colonial on Kensington Road in Ridgewood, New Jersey, with a woman named Diane who made that house feel less like walls and more like a heartbeat. She picked the paint colors. She hung the curtains. She planted the hydrangeas out front that still bloom every June, like clockwork, stubborn and beautiful. Same as she was. Diane died 3 years ago. Brain aneurysm. She was fine. One morning, gone by dinner. No warning, no chance to say goodbye. After that, the house got quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet where you catch yourself talking to an empty kitchen just to hear a voice, even if it's your own. So when my son Robert called me on a Tuesday night, voice tight, and said, "Dad, can Nicole and I come talk to you about something?" I said yes before he even finished the sentence. Company, I thought. Finally, some noise in this house again. I should have asked more questions. Welcome to Dad's Raw Revenge. Get comfortable. This story's going to take you somewhere. Hit that like button and drop a comment below letting me know where you're watching from. Trust me, you're going to love it here. Robert is 37. Good kid, mostly soft in the ways his mother spoiled him, but good. He married Nicole 5 years ago at a vineyard out in Hunterdon County, and I remember standing at that reception thinking, she's got a spine on her. I liked that about her back then. I didn't know yet that a spine can be used to hold a door open, or to plant a flag. They showed up that Tuesday with 2 mugs of coffee I made, and never got to touch. "Dad, we're struggling," Robert said, staring at the table instead of me. "Rent in Hackensack is insane right now. We're paying $2,200 a month for a 1-bedroom, and we're never going to save enough for a down payment if we keep bleeding money like this." Nicole jumped in fast, like she'd rehearsed it. "We wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious, Michael. We just need maybe a year. 18 months, tops. Just to get back on our feet. A year, I thought. I can do a year. This house has 4 empty bedrooms and 1 lonely old man. What's the harm?" "Of course," I said. "This is still your home, too. It always was." Nicole actually cried a little, hugged me, called me a lifesaver. A lifesaver. Funny word looking back. They moved in that February, U-Haul parked crooked in my driveway, boxes stacked in the garage next to Diane's old gardening tools. I helped Robert carry a mattress up the stairs and felt something in my chest loosened for the first time in months. The house had sound in it again. Footsteps, the TV on downstairs, someone's phone buzzing on the counter. This is good, I told myself. The first few weeks were fine. Almost nice. Nicole made dinner twice. Some kind of chicken piccata that wasn't bad. And we'd sit at the table like a real family. Robert would tell me about his job at the insurance firm in Paramus. I'd tell him stories about Diane, about the house, about the hydrangeas she planted the summer we moved in. Then, slowly, and I mean so slowly I almost didn't notice it happening, the house stopped being mine. It started small. On a Tuesday in March, I came downstairs and Diane's ceramic angels, the ones she collected for 20 years, the ones that sat on the mantel since before Robert could walk, were gone. "Nicole, honey, where are the angels?" She didn't even look up from her phone. "Oh, I put those in a box in the attic. They were kind of cluttering up the space and I wanted to try something more minimalist down here. Hope that's okay." It was already done. Cluttering up the space. That space had my late wife's fingerprints on every surface. I didn't fight it. I told myself, pick your battles, Michael. It's just decorations. But it wasn't just decorations. By April, Nicole had reorganized my kitchen. My pots on the bottom shelf where I couldn't reach without bending my bad hip. Her air fryer and 3 different blenders taking over the counter space Diane used to roll out dough on. She critiqued how I cooked pasta. "Michael, you're not supposed to salt the water that much." Like she was raised in Naples and not in Wayne, New Jersey. She started commenting on when I came home. "You were gone a long time today," she'd say, arms crossed, like I was a teenager missing curfew in my own house. I'd try to say something, just a little pushback. "Nicole, I appreciate you wanting to help around here, but I've been cooking my own meals for 40 years. And before I could even finish, Robert would cut in from the couch. "Come on, Dad. She's just trying to help. She's stressed about the future. Can you not be difficult right now?" Difficult. Me. In my own house. By July, I wasn't just eating earlier. I was actively hiding in my own home. One evening, I walked down to the kitchen to grab a glass of water, and I overheard Nicole telling Robert that my old recliner ruined the aesthetic of the living room and smelled like an old man. Robert didn't defend me. He just muttered, "I'll get him to move it to the basement." I quietly turned around, walked back up the stairs, and stayed in my bedroom. I started spending my evenings at Ferraro's on Ridgewood Avenue, eating chicken parm alone, just to remember what it felt like to be treated like a paying customer, instead of an inconvenient ghost in a house I paid off in 2009. But the worst one came in August. I came home from the hardware store and went to make myself a cup of coffee. Reached for my mug. The one Diane had bought me at a craft fair in Lambertville. The one with the faded blue glaze and the slight chip on the rim that she always said gave it character. It was gone. I searched every cabinet, every shelf, finally found it in the back of the pantry, shoved behind a box of granola bars, like someone had hidden it there on purpose. I brought it to Nicole, held it up, asked as calmly as I could manage, "Nicole, did you move this?" She glanced at it, then back at her phone. "Oh, that old thing? It was chipped. I was going to throw it out, but Robert said you'd be upset, so I just put it somewhere out of the way." Somewhere out of the way, my coffee mug, the one I'd used every morning for 15 years. She'd banished it like it was garbage. I didn't say anything. I just took it back to my bedroom and kept it in my nightstand drawer after that. Drank my coffee upstairs, alone like I was a guest in my own home. My neighbor Claire caught me out front one evening, watering what was left of Diane's hydrangeas myself, since Nicole said the yard maintenance schedule needed adjusting. "You look tired, Michael," Claire said. "I'm fine," I told her. I was not fine. I didn't say that part out loud. You don't when it's your own son's marriage on the line and you're the only one who seems to notice the walls closing in. Here's the thing about erosion. You don't see the canyon. You just wake up one day and the ground's gone. By the following spring, a full year in, I was making excuses to leave my own kitchen. I'd started keeping a little cash in my sock drawer, just in case. Though in case of what, I honestly couldn't have told you back then. Then came the week before Easter. I was taking the trash out. My job still apparently along with the mortgage payments I never asked them to help with, when I saw it sticking out of the recycling bin. Glossy, colorful. A cruise brochure. Royal Caribbean. 7 nights Eastern Caribbean balcony suite. Booked. Paid. Confirmed. Underneath it, receipts. A coach bag. I stood there in my driveway, garbage bag still in my hand, and felt something shift in my chest that wasn't sadness anymore. They're not saving for a house, I thought. They never were. I'm not a lifeline. I'm a subsidy. I didn't say anything that night. I went back inside, washed my hands, and sat in my recliner in the dark for a long time, just listening to them laugh at something on the TV upstairs. Laughing in the house my wife decorated, funded by the money I wasn't spending on myself, because I was too busy keeping their lights on. 2 years, I thought. 2 years of being told I'm difficult for wanting my own kitchen back. I didn't know yet what Sunday was going to bring. I didn't know about the wine glass, or the ER or the sound handcuffs make on a quiet street at 6 in the morning. But something in me had already started counting down. And 3 days later at my own Easter table, Nicole was going to hand me the reason to stop being patient and start being done. Easter morning I woke up at 5 and started cooking before the sun came up. Old habits. Diane used to say I cooked like I was still feeding a platoon, not 3 people. Spiral ham glazed with brown sugar and cloves, the way my mother taught me. Scalloped potatoes, string beans with garlic, a pineapple upside-down cake cooling on the counter by 9 a.m. This is still my house, I told myself, wiping flour off my hands. This is still a holiday. This still means something. I wanted it to mean something. I wanted, one more time, to sit at that table and feel like a father instead of a landlord nobody paid. Robert came down around 10, gave me a hug, said the ham smelled unreal. For a second, just a second, it felt like the old days. Then Nicole walked in, phone already in her hand, and the air in the kitchen changed temperature. "Smells good, Michael," she said, not looking up. Michael. Never Dad. 2 years and she never once called me that. I noticed it every single time and never said a word. Dinner started fine. Small talk. Robert telling me about a promotion he was up for. I asked Nicole how her parents were doing. Her father, Larry, had been dealing with some knee problems, and she said they were getting by. Getting by? I should have clocked the tone in that sentence. I didn't. We were maybe 20 minutes in, plates half full, when Nicole set her fork down with a click that was just a little too loud. "So, Michael, I need to tell you something." She set her fork down. Not a nervous gesture. A declaration. My parents' landlord raised their rent again. $300 a month effective next lease. They can't afford it. I nodded, chewing slow, keeping my voice neutral. That's rough. Rent's out of control everywhere right now. She didn't acknowledge my sympathy. Didn't need to. She was already past it. "Yeah," she said, leaning back in her chair. "So they're going to move in here, into the 2 bedrooms upstairs, next month." Just like that. No, we were thinking. No, what do you think, Michael? Just a statement of fact, delivered like she was telling me the mail had come. I put my fork down, looked at her, waited for the punchline. There wasn't one. "I'm sorry. What?" "My parents," she repeated, slower like I was the one being unreasonable. "They're moving in. You've got 2 empty rooms just sitting there doing nothing." Doing nothing. Like the guest room wasn't the room Diane used to wrap Christmas presents in every December. Like empty didn't mean anything to her. "Nicole," I said, keeping my voice level, "I love you both, and I'm glad to have helped you 2 get on your feet. But this house isn't a boarding house. I can't take on 2 more people. I'm 68 years old. I didn't sign up to run a shelter. The table went dead silent. Robert's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. Dad, he said carefully, come on, don't be like that. Be like what, Robert? Honest. You're being dramatic, Nicole snapped. And just like that, her voice went from 0 to 100. You have 2 rooms sitting empty. 2. While my parents are about to be out on the street, and you're worried about your, what, your peace and quiet? Yes, I said, and I meant it. My peace and quiet, in my own house, that I paid for, that I've apparently been renting out for free for 2 years while you funded cruises and coach bags I found in the trash last week. I hadn't planned to say that part, but it was out, and I watched Nicole's face go white, then red, in about a second and a half. Excuse me, she said. You heard me. You went through my trash. It's my trash can, I said, in my driveway, outside my house. Robert's head was on a swivel between us, panic creeping into his face. Okay, can everyone just... Let's not do this on Easter. Your mother, Nicole hissed, standing up now, chair scraping hard against the floor, isn't even here anymore, Michael. This isn't her house. It's not a shrine. Maybe it's time you stopped acting like it is and let some living people use the space. She said it so easily, like Diane was just a line item to be crossed. Off something in my chest went cold and very, very still. Get out, I said quietly. Both of you need to hear me clearly. Her parents are not moving into this house. Not next month. Not ever. That is final. That's when Robert, my son, my own blood, stood up too, chair scraping hard against the floorboards his mother had picked out in 1987. You know what, Dad? His voice cracked, but not with emotion, with frustration, like I was the child throwing a tantrum. You're being selfish. You already lived your life. You had 39 years in this house with Mom. Had. Past tense. Like she was a chapter he'd closed. And you can't even let us build something? Why does it always have to be about you? He said it like he'd been holding it in for years, like I was the one who'd been taking. Selfish. Me. The man who mortgaged nothing, asked for nothing, gave up his kitchen, his mantle, his quiet evenings, his dead wife's decorations, his coffee mug, called selfish by the son I raised, standing in the house I built over rooms he didn't pay 1 cent toward. I didn't even get the chance to answer. Nicole's arm swept sideways, fast, sharp, deliberate, and the wine glass in front of her went flying across the table. I didn't see it coming. I felt it. Glass cracked against my forehead with a sound I can still hear if I close my eyes. Then heat, then wet. Then the sharp, coppery smell of my own blood running down into my eyebrow, my cheek dripping onto the tablecloth Diane bought at a flea market in Lambertville 20 years ago. For 1 full second, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Robert, and I want you to really hear this, Robert didn't come to me. He didn't grab a towel. He didn't ask if I was okay. He turned to Nicole, hands up, and said, Whoa, hey, it's okay, calm down, to her. Then he looked at me, blood running down my face onto my collar, and had the audacity to say, Dad, look what you did. You pushed her to this. You had to push. I sat there for a moment. Just a moment. Long enough to feel the blood reach my jaw. Long enough to look my son dead in the eye and understand, with total clarity, that he had already chosen. He'd chosen a long time ago. I was just slow to catch up. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even raise my voice. I stood up, grabbed the kitchen towel off the oven handle, pressed it hard against my forehead, and walked past both of them toward the front door. Dad, wait, where are you going? I didn't answer him. I grabbed my keys off the hook by the door and walked out into the cold April afternoon, blood soaking through white cotton, and got into my car. I drove myself to Valley Hospital on Linden Avenue. 11 minutes. I remember every red light. In the waiting room, a nurse took 1 look at me and skipped me straight back. 6 stitches right above my eyebrow. The doctor kept asking, gently, carefully, Mr. Hayes, can you tell me again how this happened? I told him the truth. Every word of it. While they numbed my forehead and threaded the first stitch, I pulled out my phone with my free hand and opened a text thread I hadn't touched in almost a year. My lawyer, Jack Ross, a man who handled Diane's estate and knew exactly how careful and exact I could be when I needed to. I typed slowly, my hand a little unsteady. Jack, I'm in the ER. Nicole threw a wine glass at my head tonight over dinner. 6 stitches. Robert is covering for her, blaming me. I want to press charges. I need an emergency protective order filed the second the courthouse opens tomorrow, and eviction paperwork ready to go the same day. I'm done being patient. Call me when you get this. I hit send before I could talk myself out of it. Then I sat back in that hospital bed, blood drying on my collar, and for the first time in 2 years, I felt something close to calm. They wanted to know what selfishness looked like. They were about to find out. If you have been listening for a while, drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button while you're at it, and be sure you're subscribed. By the time I got home from the hospital that night, My forehead throbbing under 6 fresh stitches, the house was dark and quiet. Robert and Nicole were already in bed, like nothing had happened. Like I hadn't bled all over a tablecloth my dead wife bought at a flea market. I didn't sleep. I sat in my recliner in the dark living room, phone in my hand, waiting for Jack Ross to text back. He did, at 11:47 p.m. Got it, Michael. I'm filing the EPO request the second the courthouse opens at 8 a.m. Given the ER report and photos, this should move fast. Don't engage with either of them tonight. Just document everything. I'll call you first thing. Don't engage. Easiest advice I'd ever been given. I sat there in the quiet listening to the house. The same house I'd been apologizing for existing in for 2 years. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like the difficult one. I felt like a man who was finally done. What I didn't know until later was that while I was still in the ER getting my stitches, the hospital staff, mandated reporters under New Jersey law, had already called the Ridgewood police. 2 officers took my statement and photos of my bloodied face right there in the exam room. They filed their report that night, and Jack would use that report as part of the EPO application first thing Monday morning. I didn't sleep more than an hour that night. By 5:45 a.m., I was on the porch with a cup of coffee, a fresh bandage taped over my stitches, watching the sun come up over Kensington Road, like any other Monday. Except it wasn't any other Monday. At 8:01, Jack filed the paperwork. By 9:15, a judge had signed the emergency temporary restraining order. The Ridgewood PD coordinated with the sheriff's department, and by 9:47, 3 cruisers turned onto my street, 2 sheriff's deputies and 1 Ridgewood PD unit, the one carrying the arrest warrant based on the hospital's report from the night before. Lights on, no sirens. Neighbors' porch lights flicked on one by one down the block. Claire stepped out onto her front steps in a bathrobe, arms crossed, watching. I didn't move from my chair. I just watched them pull into the driveway. They didn't knock. They didn't have to. The officers went straight up the walk and rang the doorbell like it was any other delivery. Robert answered in his boxers, still half asleep, and I watched his face go from confusion to terror in about 2 seconds flat. The Ridgewood PD officer read Nicole her rights right there in the doorway, while she stood in her pajamas. Mascara streaked from the night before, hands behind her back. The deputies followed close behind with the EPO paperwork. She was barred from the property entirely, effective immediately. Robert had to pack her things himself. The deputies gave him 10 minutes to gather what she'd need. 10 minutes. That's all he got. I watched him run back inside, heard him crashing around upstairs, frantic, throwing clothes into a duffel bag. Nicole stood in the doorway, handcuffed, crying, while a deputy stood beside her with his hand on her elbow, patient and unmovable. Robert came back down with the duffel bag, still in his boxers, sweat on his forehead, looking like a man who'd woken up to find his whole life had been reset while he was sleeping. When they led Nicole out to the cruiser, Robert followed, barefoot and shaking. And that's when he saw me on the porch, my coffee still steaming in my hand, my face stitched and bruised. Watching. He lost it. Are you happy now? His voice cracked across the quiet neighborhood, loud enough that I saw Claire flinch. You're kicking us out on the street over a mistake. You're completely selfish, you know that. You're destroying your own family. I didn't answer him. I didn't blink. I just sat there with my coffee, bandage on my forehead, and watched the officers load Nicole into the back of the cruiser and drive away. I didn't call the cops, I thought. The ER did. The law did. Your wife did. The second she let go of that glass. I just let the silence answer for me. Here's the part that surprised even me. I didn't have to do anything else. The machine I'd set in motion just kept turning on its own. Jack called Tuesday morning to walk me through it. Turns out ER staff in New Jersey are mandated reporters. Any injury consistent with domestic violence gets flagged automatically, no matter what the victim says or doesn't say. Combine that with the emergency protective order Jack filed at 8:01 a.m. sharp, and the county didn't need me to press hard on anything. The system pressed for me. Nicole was released on bail Monday afternoon, but because of the restraining order, she couldn't step a foot back onto Kensington Road. Robert, acting out of pure spite and blind loyalty to her, rented a U-Haul by Wednesday night to empty out their bedroom. But he tried to leave all their heavy furniture and the mountain of boxes hoarding up my garage, texting me, "We'll come get the rest when we have a bigger place. Don't touch our stuff." I didn't play that game. My lawyer Jack immediately sent a legal addendum. Any property left behind after Friday at 5 p.m. would be deemed legally abandoned and thrown in a commercial dumpster at their expense. That sent Robert into an absolute panic. By Thursday afternoon, he was forced to drag his father-in-law Larry, bad knee and all, to help him haul those heavy boxes out of my garage in the pouring rain. They couldn't fit it all into that tiny apartment above the nail salon, so they had to bleed even more of their dwindling cash on a monthly storage unit. Robert finally texted me, "We're completely out. Enjoy your empty house." My lawyer Jack sent their electronic inbox a formal eviction and lease termination notice anyway, just to ensure they had no legal right to ever claim tenancy or try to force their way back in. They were gone within 72 hours of the assault. By Friday morning, the consequences caught up to her in another way. I found out through Claire. On Thursday, the local Daily Voice published the weekly Ridgewood police blotter online. Right there, next to her mugshot, was her full name and the charge, aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, the wine glass. A client of her marketing firm happened to live in Bergen County, saw the blotter and forwarded the link directly to her agency's managing partner. By Friday morning, before she could even draft a cover story, she was placed on indefinite, unpaid suspension pending an internal HR review. Robert tried one more play. I'll give him that. He never stopped trying. Sunday, a week after Easter, my phone started buzzing nonstop. My sister Maureen, my cousin Dave, aunts, uncles, people I hadn't heard from in years. But it was my cousin Brenda who really went for the jugular. She called me at 8 a.m. on a Sunday, voice dripping with that righteous, wounded tone certain people save for family drama. Michael, I heard what happened. Robert is devastated. He says you won't even let them explain. He's your son, Michael. How can you do this to family? Diane would be rolling in her grave. She said my dead wife's name like a weapon, like she knew where to cut. I let her finish, let her say it all. Then I said calmly, Brenda, I'm going to send you something. Read it. Then call me back if you still feel the same way. I hung up. Made a group chat. Added every single relative who'd reached out. I didn't argue. I didn't plead my case. I sent 4 things, no commentary. The photo the ER nurse took of my forehead before they stitched it. Blood still fresh, running down into my eyebrow, onto my cheek. My face pale, my eyes empty. The discharge report, 6 stitches, blunt force laceration consistent with thrown object. A copy of the police statement, Nicole's charge listed in black and white. And beneath all of it, one single sentence. Robert stood over me while I bled into his mother's tablecloth and told me I drove his wife to do this. If any of you think this is a family misunderstanding, you are welcome to open your own homes to them. Do not contact me again. I put my phone on silent and went outside to trim the hydrangeas. My cousin Brenda called back 6 hours later. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail, voice small, nothing like the woman who'd called me that morning. Michael, I didn't know. I'm so sorry, I didn't know. I deleted the voicemail without saving it. By that evening, the group chat had gone completely quiet. Not one person defended Robert. Not one. Turns out blood in a photo says more than any story he can spin. The weeks that followed were almost boring, in the best possible way. Robert and Nicole found a 1-bedroom apartment above a nail salon on Route 17. The kind of place with a window unit AC and a parking lot that floods when it rains. I know because Claire's daughter drove past it once and told her mother who told me, not unkindly. Here's the part that almost made me laugh out loud when I heard it. Nicole's parents, Larry and his wife, still needed somewhere to live. Their landlord still raised the rent. Nothing about their situation changed. So they moved in with Robert and Nicole, into that 1-bedroom apartment, above a nail salon, on Route 17, 4 adults, 1 bathroom. No down payment fund left because most of it went to legal fees, court costs, and Nicole's suspended paycheck. She got her wish. Her parents were finally under the same roof as her. Just not the roof she wanted. I was driving back from the hardware store on Route 17, about 3 weeks after they moved out, and I saw him, Robert, hauling a garbage bag out to the curb of that nail salon apartment. Gray tank top, shoulders slumped, looking thinner than I remembered. Nicole's parents were sitting on the stoop, 2 plastic lawn chairs wedged between the front door and a fire hydrant. Her mother had a cigarette in her hand, looking out at the parking lot like she was waiting for a better life to pull in. I didn't slow down. I didn't honk. I just kept driving. That was the last time I saw my son. I thought I'd feel something. Sadness, maybe. Guilt. But all I felt was the quiet hum of the engine, and the knowledge that I'd given him everything, and he'd traded it for a woman who threw glass at his father's head. Some debts can't be paid back. Some doors don't open twice. 6 weeks after Easter, I sat on my back porch on a warm May evening with a beer, listening to nothing but wind in the trees and the low hum of the neighbor's sprinkler system. I'd put Diane's ceramic angels back on the mantel the week before, cleared a shelf in the kitchen for her old rolling pin. The house felt like hers again, like mine again. My phone buzzed on the table beside me. Robert. Dad, we're drowning. Rent's due Friday and we're short. Court fees ate everything we had left. Nicole's mom is sick and there's literally no space here for anyone to breathe. Please, you have those empty bedrooms. Just let us come home. I'm sorry. Please. I read it twice. Then I looked out at the yard, at the hydrangeas just starting to bud, and I thought about a Tuesday 2 years ago when I said yes before he even finished his sentence. I thought about the word he used at that table. Selfish. I typed back slowly, no anger in it, just truth. You were right, son. I am being selfish, and I've never understood the value of that word more clearly in my life. Good luck. I hit send. Then I blocked the number. I sat there another 20 minutes, finishing my beer, listening to the birds settle into the trees for the night. No footsteps upstairs that weren't mine. No air fryer humming on the counter. No one telling me I salt my pasta water wrong. Just quiet. My quiet. For the first time in 2 years, that word didn't feel like something I had to apologize for. It felt like something I'd earned. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. Let me know where you're watching from. I will see you on the next one.